What is going on, guys? Welcome to today's episode of the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast. Apologize if I sound a little bit different today. I am in Austin, Texas, and recording with my first, I guess, like legit traveling mic setup. So it's a little bit different, but it beats like, you know, the headphones and what a bunch of fucking amateurs use. This is actually episode 200 as well of the Collecting Keys podcast. It's actually closer to like 300 because we do those Friday focuses, which for some reason we fucking decided to number differently. But that was, I don't know why we did that back in the day, but my goal is to get that to 100 and then just switch over to everything being the same number.
Can we do that? I mean, is that plausible?
We can do anything that we want.
Okay.
Right? But I mean,
200 though, that's a serious feat.
It's funny. We were talking about this before the show and you're like, I feel like we should do something special for it. But my sort of view is that if things are truly just like time-based, like they're inevitable, it's kind of silly to, I guess, like celebrate them or hype them up too much. Because also technically we could have done 200 episodes in 200 days if we wanted to. We could also do 200 episodes in 10 years, right?
I think though we could celebrate the fact that we did the exact same thing, which we've never done for long enough to get 200 episodes.
That actually is legitimately valid.
We haven't stuck with anything for 2 years. How long have we been doing this? 2 years?
Over 2 years, 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
22.
2.5 years. And I guess I can't say that we've done it the same way without changing.
October of 21.
We started October of 21. Yeah. So that'd be 22, 23. Oh, wow. Yeah, we're rolling up on 3 years fast. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, I guess that is pretty cool. But I don't know, like when it comes to people, when they like set a goal, or a milestone, like I'm gonna do 200 podcast episodes. I mean, it's something that you just do every single week. I don't know. It's like if you or I were to make like a goal of like, I'm going to work out 4 times a week. It's like, you already freaking know you're going to do it anyway. Yeah. It's like a cop out. So you can like go and jerk off and whatever accountability you're in.
I'm going to wake up 365 days this year.
Some people failed that goal this year.
That's unfortunate. That is true. That's so unfortunate.
You know, in fact, there's a lot of people that have failed that goal, but I will tell you what, every single person that failed, they were not anticipating failing this year.
That's true. Let's hope they weren't anyways. I mean, golly, that's an unfortunate twist.
But
200 episodes though. I hope the listeners can appreciate this. We need to do like a montage of like just the shitty episodes and how it's like evolved and then like get to where now. And it's just us having a conversation and just talking shit about random things and not really any purpose at all at this point.
No, not like adding value or doing anything of substance. Yeah. Speaking of which, I didn't even say what the show's about. Hello, I am Mike DeHaan here with my co-host Dan Austin. It's the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast, where we teach you to make massive income and not just passive income with your real estate investing business. There we go.
Welcome.
The intro like I was supposed to. 200th episode and I fuck it up. There we go.
Yeah, right. And if you're just tuning in for the first time, you missed 199 awesome episodes. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. And going forward, I don't know what you're going to get in the next 199.
Yeah, totally. But it's funny going back to like the original ones. We've been one of the craziest things with this whole thing is now that we do have like a budget around it. I mean, like our real estate business has done significantly better, obviously, since 2021. And now it's because the podcast itself is able to be monetized through the Scale community and the other like educational stuff that we offer through this. It's like we have like an actual team and we have people that are like doing additional stuff outside of just the show. And so an idea I've had forever is to do these animated adventures, animated webtoons where we take these funny stories that people tell on the show about crazy real estate, whatever, deals, sellers, tenants, and we turn those into little 2 to 3 minute webtoons, which you can catch on our YouTube channel. Our second one will be out by the time that this episode is released. And I was going through working with our animator and trying to find like which one to do for episode 3. And he was like, I've heard you guys talk about like this other story, just like in chat and different things. Like, do you have an episode about that? And it's the story about how we had a seller abducted from a closing, which is still to date like our craziest story. And I was like, I know we had an episode about that like a long time ago. Let me go check. It was like episode 3.
That's
Dude,
wild.
like, it was so long ago. And
Oh
I
my
went and I
gosh.
looked and I was like just trying to see. I was like, well, maybe there's like some good audio in here that we can use for it. No,
Trash. Just trash audio.
unusable. Like it's literally me talking and trying to keep moving the conversation forward. And you didn't have your internet confidence yet. So you're just sitting there going, uh-huh. And then the video, like we
With
have
the old mics too. That's so just this echoey shit. Like
yeah, just terrible audio, and like the video is awful. We're both for some reason wearing a white sweater. Like it's really freaking weird.
Oh, we have video footage of this.
Yeah, dude, it sucks. Yeah, it's like episode 3, episode 4. If you go about it talks about the titles are Seller was abducted from closing.
God, such a great title. We should re-record some of those early ones.
We need to for sure, just for the animated short clips, because like some of those are just crazy, especially some back classics. Then where we were like really in the weeds and we didn't have a massive team that was doing all of our dirty work for us.
Right. Well, and it's like, when did we start doing the interviews? Was that like a little over a year ago?
Yeah. So it was almost a year into the podcast, right? And so we did it with just us for the entirety of 2022, pretty much. And I want to say it was like maybe August of 22 we started doing the interviews, and we would do them very selectively.
Yeah, right. It was definitely with like certain people. Like we weren't like just like interviewing, dorks or anything like that. And I just I asked because like we had like everything else was just us talking about crazy shit that happened in our day-to-day business, which was a lot. Like honestly, like we had a lot of stuff, but then we started bringing people on, and I think was it Kurt Booker that was the one like talk, like he was like a New Orleans investor. Then you just start talking about like dead bodies and stuff like that, and you're like, okay, this is getting to the next level of like crazy stuff that people have had to deal with. And then like shootings. I think we had somebody talking about their house getting like involved in like gang shootings and drug, like turning into like a trap house. And like, it got wild there for a bit.
It did. Yeah. I feel like Kurt was the first person that we had that was kind of, I would say a little bit loose, like with how his real estate was performed. He was
colorful.
Colorful, right? And he was doing the direct to seller thing, kind of similar to how we were, and so he was getting into these weird situations. And we had a good run there where we had several people that were like that. Or we had Sterling Chapman back then. He was also down in Louisiana. Yeah, I don't think he's in New Orleans though. He's in
he's in not Baton Rouge. It's one of those other ones.
One of those other cities they're down there that are very far from Washington State. Yeah. But he was talking about the one where there was like a prostitute that he evicted that decided to put the hose from the kitchen sink into the HVAC system and just flood the entire property and ruin the HVAC system.
Yeah. Got so weird for a bit.
Yeah. And then there was one guy we had, I still can't remember which episode it was. People have asked me about it several times, where he went to go and
I know which one you're going to talk about.
To get the property signed, and the dude just came out and just punched him square in the face. Yeah. Do you remember who that was?
I don't.
Several people have been like, you should make an animated of that one. And I don't know who it was. I've gone through and I like nothing.
Can't find it. That's so funny though. Well, yeah. Dang it. We need to have Wormon go through and listen to every single episode till he hears that.
Right.
God, that's funny. Or the paint can diarrhea guy.
Yeah. God.
The guy that his contractor was shitting in the paint can.
Yeah. Who was that one?
I could think of it. I can't remember either. You're right. Damn it. We need to get some faces to these episodes.
Like seriously. And I wish that Apple hadn't completely hamstringed their download algorithm, because for a while I always wanted to be like, oh yeah, these were like our top episodes of like the last 100. But the problem is that Apple completely just changed how it like makes people download episodes, which I think is better for the industry, because
auto download is trash.
Yeah, if you see all these podcasts talking about all these downloads they get, realistically, they probably get about 20% of those of actual listeners. Yeah. Like if they're lucky, because what Apple used to do is when somebody subscribed to the show, they would make you download like a bunch of them. A lot of you guys probably remember this. You had iTunes that did this and you're like, oh, I hated that. Well, they stopped doing that. So now it doesn't like inflate the download numbers anymore for your subscribers, which is better because people can't like pretend like their show's way more successful than it is. But the thing that sucks is we have all these old episodes that are shown as
really high.
They're like show higher listen and download count than they actually got. And so there's no way for us to ever actually get like a true leaderboard of like, these are our most popular episodes, because the
You just have to
analytics
listen to
for
the
podcasts
next 200.
suck.
The next 200 will build up that credibility starting today with the new episodes.
Yeah. The only thing I can go off of is like what the ones that people regularly ask me about, which there are like a couple different episodes that people bring up on a regular basis. One of which is the Becoming a Cash Flow Master, which you wired. We actually just interviewed again. People always ask about that one.
Yeah.
People also always ask about the Eric Brewer episode about innovations, because that was just a really popular one for a while. And then Tara Fernandez did one around marketing systems a long time ago that was super popular. We actually released that one twice.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's just we've covered pretty much everything under the sun. That's actually one of the things I've learned as we've been continuing to book more people for the show, is we want to have like real estate operators, like people that are running real estate businesses, and not just like syndicators or people that are so far removed from their company that they don't have a lot of substance to bring, other than the fact they're just professional money raisers.
Yeah.
And we're almost running out of people, dude. Like, honestly.
Yeah. That, you and I are texting about this, I think, not too long ago. And it's like, some of it feels like it's just people that are like, a lot of the big podcasts anyways, is just recycling the same guests over and over between each episode. The same guest is saying the same stuff on all the different platforms. So like, if you listen to real estate specific podcasts, there's probably a handful that you listen to, and the same guys and gals are going on the same ones, talking about the same thing. And guess what? Their pitch hasn't changed from 5 years ago when they were actually doing stuff, because they haven't done anything besides raise money or build a brand since then. Very few people do the thing, build the brand, and it enhances the thing they're doing. Very few people.
Yeah.
They usually just stop and monetize at that point, and then they don't do the thing anymore.
Yeah. Well, also, exactly, as people's businesses grow, a lot of the interesting stuff is in the struggle and the rise, right? I mean, and this is us included. Like, we have way less interesting real estate stories than we used to have, just because we're not in the weeds out there walking crack houses ourselves anymore.
Right. Yeah. We have staff doing it, and it's more systematized. It's more like day to day. Like, there's also stories that now happen that probably don't even like make it up to us sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably a ton, honestly.
Yeah.
And
think about all the conversations that happen in our business every day that we don't know what happens on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. I mean, guys are making hundreds of phone calls a day. There's going to be a lot of those, and you go to do any big real estate or business influencers, you're going to see the same thing. I mean, Brandon Turner, dude, like so many people are like, man, I would love to have Brandon Turner as a guest. I would love to have an extended conversation with him, but I think having him as a guest would be completely pointless, because what's he going to do? Come and tell the exact same stories that he's told on everything for like a decade about how he used to be, putting on roofs himself, and then he reached financial freedom, and then he sat on a couch for a month, and then he was so bored. Right. And then just like everyone. I
know his life story by heart. I've heard it so many times, and not just his, but other people.
Or even like Alex Hermosi now, he has great stories about all of his rise up and how he built gym launch and all that sort of thing. Yeah. But a lot of stuff was like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. He exited that business in 2020.
Yep.
And that's why a lot of the stuff that he has now, it's very actionable business advice, and a lot of it's like philosophically based. But I guarantee you that he doesn't have any like real gritty, crazy business stories anymore, just because he has a corporation.
Yeah. It's a lot bigger. He has a lot more people doing it. This reminds me, I was today just started it. I haven't dove into it completely yet, but Jamie Gruber on the Tribe of Millionaires podcast was interviewing Pace Morby. And he did, how he posted that, I think, in the GoBundance elite group. And like, there's people that had commented, like, ask him about this shit. And he's actually so far asking the exact questions that were posted.
Did he ask my questions?
Which ones were yours? Remind me.
I think I asked him how he feels about telling people to commit fraud on a regular basis.
Okay, he hasn't asked that, but he asked about the insurance question.
Oh, that was my question too, actually.
So that's where he stopped, or that's where I stopped listening, just because I had to record this podcast. But very fascinating. Go and listen. If you're listening to this, you know how we feel about some of that stuff, or at least him in particular, Pace Morby, and go listen to it and let us know what you think. We'd love it, and I'll give you an analysis on the podcast of what he says to Jamie's, or what he responds to Jamie's questions. Cause some of it already is just like, come on, bro. Like, really? Like, that's like the top, like, level answer without digging into the details. And if you don't know what to ask, on those questions, like you can easily breeze through the questions, you know what I mean? Without sounding like an idiot.
What we should do, and Ramon, who's our content guy, is going to love this. We should do like a video response to that where we go through
play by play
question, and we actually talk about what you should legitimately do, not what he says, or if he does have something that's valid, we will fully acknowledge that. I'm not going to be 100% a hater. I just want to make it to be like an actual real conversation around those subject to transactions and not the simplified version that he tends to share.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea. That'd be fun too. Because you're right. Like if there's like legit valid stuff, like I'm on board with it.
Totally.
You know what I mean? But there's also just the second level and second layer things that are easy to breeze over when you're on a podcast or you're pitching it, and nobody's asking the hard questions. Yeah. It's easy to get sound bites too. And it's easy to he's like, go talk to my lawyers and they'll tell you this is legal. And it's like, yeah, they'll tell you it's legal. But what are they, what happens if like the seller dies, or what happens if you die, or what happens if, this happens, like the sort of stuff that happen, like the banks. He's like, nah, I've done the little things. He says, I've done thousands of these. I'm like, first of all, that seems embellished. But thousands of these transactions, and only had, I don't want to quote him, but it was like 10 get called due on sale.
Yeah. I mean, so far, right. It's not going to indicate anything in the future. And also with stuff like that, I know what a lot of those guys do is they will have like their community, right? Like this is what Jamil was super, super common. Like he would always do this and drive me freaking crazy. He'd be like, I've wholesaled thousands of houses. Like, no, bro, you're freaking franchisors that are in your company that you give them the franchise to.
And they honestly probably haven't done that many.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you have a shit ton of them, they probably have. It's like, even a blind lion will finally catch something.
Does Keegley still exist?
Yeah, I think they're huge.
No, they're not huge.
I think they're not small. I think he probably has a couple hundred things.
I just can't imagine that anybody's operating it successfully. There's like 1,800 Home Investors franchises. I bet you 500 are operated successfully.
Totally. But you only need like a couple of them. And now he can go and say he's done thousands of wholesale deals. Right.
I understand that. I'm just saying I just can't imagine that today that business model is super valid for all their operators. There's always the exceptions to that, but for
sure. But yeah, and I think Pace will do the same thing, right? Is he'll have somebody in his group that uses his transaction coordinator to put together a sub 2 deal that he's not involved. And he's like, I'm going to put a notch on my belt for that one.
Right.
Go ahead and count it up. It's a influencer version of like saying that you own 500 doors when you put $50,000 into a fund.
I know, honestly. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So stupid.
Or the podcaster saying that they have 25,000 downloads a month when they're not, counting the fact that Apple was just auto downloading the episodes for every
Yes. And they do 6 episodes a day. That auto download. Exactly. And they paid 10,000 people in the Philippines to download it.
We definitely do not know somebody that did that.
We don't know people that would do that. It's weird.
But yeah, either way, it's been a fun 200 episodes so far, though. I'm excited to keep doing it. And I mean, honestly, like the best thing about this too is like the audience that it builds. You'd be surprised how even when you have a very small brand like ours, the opportunities that come around, even for just like little stuff, right? Like here, I'm in Austin. I went to the gym this morning, dropped into this gym that somebody recommended me, which was pretty cool. Took a little video of it, put it on my Instagram. A listener who I've never met before follows me on Instagram. He hit me up and he's like, hey, you should come up to Collective and work out with me. And Collective is like the super exclusive gym here. I think it's like $400 a month or something to go there. Damn. It's like where Cody Sanchez and like these other bigwigs here go, and they make it expensive to keep out all the peasants,
Yeah, of course.
And you can't drop in there. But he said he has a guest pass, so I'm gonna go work out with some random dude and go to this fancy gym, right? Which is a cool experience for me because I'm a kind of a meathead. I like stuff.
Yeah, that's gonna be sick, dude. You should see if they got a T-shirt.
Yeah,
that's how you gotta get a drop-in shirt, man.
I should. Yeah, they have a co-working space too.
That's sick.
And like that's something that I would say I've added to like my goals and bucket list over the last 4 months. I kind of thought of this idea about having like a really sick gym space that also had like a co-working space that was like kind of like a inclusive thing, and because I feel like there's a demand for that. Right. Like there is a fitness interest amongst entrepreneurs and people that have like virtual work environments. But one of the most challenging things is that you go somewhere and trying to find like actually a good place to work out, right? Or like people, will pick their co-working space with its proximity to wherever they go to the gym if they're fitness inclined.
Dude, I got it. I figured it out.
Yeah.
We work out.
We work out.
We work out.
That's a great name.
Yeah, dude. So I agree with that. Like I've had this kind of concept on the commercial side of things of like, I like the idea of like a multi-tenant building because I just like that security, right? If you have 5 tenants and one moves out, you still have 4 coming in. It's not like one big anchor tenant. Like you have a Walgreens building and Walgreens moves out, right? Like that building was built for Walgreens. Somebody else has to come in and kind of replicate that or redo a ton of, you got to do a ton of tenant improvements. But the idea of having like this multi-tenant building that's caters to shit I like. You know what I mean? Like totally. I need a place to work out. I need a place to like go work sometimes. I don't know that I would want like a full-time Dan office unless it was just an opportunity and I had it, but like an office that I could keep or rent out or whatever. But I also like coffee. I like beers. You know, I want to have some of those things in there. And so I feel like if you have a lot of common interests with other people, if you're putting it in a similar, like in a similar building or location, you probably have an idea there. There's probably something there.
Totally. Right. And I mean, I think that there's enough common interest across that space, like of people. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Right. You know, nobody that is motivated by business is going to eventually be like, you know what? I don't really give a shit about my health anymore. I'm just going to stop doing that.
Yeah. But I also like a good microbrew. So it's right here. So when I'm working in my workout space, got my gym workout in, I did my day's work. Now I get to give myself a beer at the end of the day, a nice microbrew, craft beer.
Yeah, that's going out though, dude. Like Gen Zs don't really drink anymore.
Yeah, but you could do mocktails, craft mocktails.
Mocktail bar.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I like how they just call it mocktails. I think everyone else calls that juice. But
exactly. My 2-year-old calls that juice.
Yeah. Right.
Chocolate milk. Yeah.
Whatever makes you feel like an adult, that's fine. It's like it's got a mocktail, apple teeny. He's like, that's called apple juice.
It's called
my
apple
5-year-old
juice.
loves it. Yeah.
Coward. Dude, you're not a man unless you've been hung over too many times. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've never really had that bad of a hangover, but it's also my genetics.
Oh, dude.
I'm fortunate in that realm. But it's definitely not fun. But yeah, we're wrapping up March here. It's going to be our, coincidentally with our 200th podcast, I think it's going to be the most closings we've ever had in a month. Like
boom.
Actual, without having stuff pushed back or anything.
What's our number going to be
right now? Wrapping up the end of the month, we should be at, let's just push it across, about 20. And then we'll have a couple of delays, which will push us to 13, I think, next month. So 20 like confirmed closings for the month, which is pretty good, which we've signed a lot of contracts in a month before, but typically stuff always gets pushed out like more than 30-day closes just for various lender reasons.
Well, and there's always just like some fallout rate, like 60, 70% you're going to close and like 30 to 40% is not uncommon. Obviously more closed, the better, but don't be upset if you run in an operation, you have 30% of your contracts that don't close.
Yeah.
There's just stuff you can't control.
That's industry standard, honestly. It must be pretty close because when we bring people on this show, there's always like a little before and after show banter where people are asking us about what's working for business and different things.
Yeah, all the insider shop talk.
Yeah. And, people always come on here and flex about how good their business is. And then we get off and they're like, man, I'm dropping 40% contracts right now.
Yeah. I told you I signed 30 this month, but I closed 15.
Yeah. All the time that happens. Yeah. And you don't know that until afterwards. Yeah. But I would say on average, we probably hear people say they close about 70%, which means they actually close about 60%.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. And I think we have the benefit of being across several markets, so we get to see the different intricacies of things like that. And so it seems to be common, and it's okay. Like things like seller circumstances change, title issues happen, your circumstances change, like things just happen to where the deal just can't come together. There's not a lot you can do. I mean, sure, you can save some of them, and you should try to save all of them, but some of them you just can't.
Yeah. And it's all about like how it plays out, right? Because like if it doesn't close because you're too high and then the day before closing, you try to do a price up on the seller.
That's dirty. Don't do them dirty like that. I think like the good example I have is when I think we were under contract for a house. It was in North Idaho. It was like I don't know, like 180 or 190 is what we were under contract for. Total dump, probably worth, I don't know, 400,000 on a good day at that point in the time in the market. It was like a 1 bed, 1 bath little bungalow thing. The dude had like $250,000 in Medicare liens, in addition to all of his other tax liens and everything else. Just the Medicare liens were more than we were paying for the house. It's just like, okay, that when you get into title and escrow and you find that out, there's just not a lot you can do.
Mm-hmm. And of course, title and escrow waits until 3 days before closing to bring anyone's attention.
Yeah, and we tried to figure that out, but we couldn't.
Yeah, well, that's right, because that was the thing with that one, because we had to get some of the liens waived by the state. And
we had to go through a whole process.
Yeah, they would only do it if we involved that crooked realtor that was going to sell it to her friend at also a discounted price, but it just wasn't us.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, well, I got this person that wants to buy it at this exact price that I gave the appraisal value. And I'm like, oh, and they're just a random client? No way.
Yeah, but I remember it was so low still. It was like 265 or something.
It was low, but it was still high enough that it was like, that doesn't really make sense for a professional investor.
Totally. Yeah. It was like a buy and hold person or someone buying it for their daughter or whatever else they were.
It was basically the agent. She was definitely trying to hook it up with a unrelated third party, which she also could have owned part of that business or whatever, as an investor that wanted to come in that market, renovate it and keep it. Cause it was in a great location, right? Like in a resort town, like you could have Airbnb'd it, especially at that time in the market, 2022, everybody was like hard dick over Airbnb and Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And so it made a ton of sense I was pumped for the deal, but she ruined it. And then, so my instinct was, I'm going to make this thing crash and burn. And that's exactly what I did.
Did you? What even ended up happening?
Well, it was basically just like, she's like, well, basically I need you to up your price, because you're the one under contract with us in the state. Because she was hired by the state. She could not be related to the transaction. So she was just there as an advisor, and she wanted us to sell it to her unrelated third party, that she's like, I have a buyer at this exact price. And so instead of doing that, I just told the state that we couldn't do that and that price wouldn't work. And so then basically they had to go through the foreclosure process, which was going to take like 2 years, because the guy we were buying it from technically didn't even own it, because it was his dead ex-wife's home.
Yeah, and it was so underwater anyway. He was walking away with nothing, so it was just the seller. The seller.
So I just made sure that whole deal got burned down to the ground, so that agent couldn't sell it.
That's funny. That was when Airbnbs were just getting crazy. We were paying stupid for stuff.
Yeah, dude.
Speaking of Airbnb, this Airbnb that I'm at in Austin, it's like an okay place inside, but there's just like some things that people get away with in these Airbnbs. I'm just like, why? Like that janky ass closet I can see behind you. That's a stick. That's a stick with hangers. That's like homemade. That's not even like a real rack. Yeah, dude, it's like Lowe's wood.
I'm also impressed that you brought a collared shirt to Austin.
Well, I don't know. We might go to a decent dinner or something.
I feel that's your nice, decent dinner shirt. Jesus.
Dude, we're from the Northwest, dude. That's, I guess, nice to guess.
That's plaid, dude.
But yeah, if you go on our YouTube, you can see that's literally the only clothing storage option in this entire place, which is weird.
That's crazy, dude.
But I mean, it has like nice flooring, it has good like little finishes, like door handles, stuff like that. But then you also access through this weird ass alleyway. Mm-hmm. We got here at 10:30 last night. We were like, okay, I don't understand where the house is. What
kind of car did you rent?
It's like a Dodge something. I don't know, whatever Avis gave me. But the alleyway was blocked by like a Lime scooter and like a bike. And so we're like, are we supposed to go down here? Like, I don't understand. And then we get down the alleyway and you literally can't park because there's this spot that is like not even big enough for a car unless you had like a little Scion. Like some little tiny thing,
Scion.
Right? A little Fiat,
a Cooper. Is that what it is? Mini Cooper.
A Mini Cooper, yeah. But you also, the problem is you can't even like back into it because there's a garage, and into the garage is this like ramp that's like this big, right? It's like a 6 or 8 inch ramp, yeah. So if you can't even like back into the spot because you bottom out the car, on the edge of this freaking ramp. And it's just like the dumbest thing. So you have to end up parking on the street, which I guess is fine. But I'm like, I don't know. If it was a long-term rental, you couldn't let this fly.
That's funny. So typical.
And then it's obviously no one has stayed here in a little bit because like a lot of like the TV had to be updated and those things, which are pretty minor. But the problem is now Airbnb has been around long enough that people have stayed in some of these places. And there's like half a generation's worth of old like freaking spices and like coffee and like cumin and stuff that's like in the kitchen.
Nice.
And so you open up the cabinets, and it's like I'm in like a mud hut in like a third world country with just like how strong the spice smell is.
Gross, dude.
It's not good. I'm just throw it away.
What are you paying per night for this? What are you paying per night for this place?
I think for the full week it was like $1,100. Like it's not bad.
What's your cleaning fee?
Probably way too much. I have no idea.
$385
probably for them to come and do nothing.
Yeah.
But I mean, it has like a
declutter the closet.
Like, yeah, right. It has decent little like work setup. It has like a nice shower and like I mean, I don't know. It's not bad. It's just always funny to me, like the little things that as a owner you let slide, and then as a guest you let slide too. Because like I'm only going to be here for 5 days. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever. But it would absolutely not go as like a long term.
Do you have like coffee available in the unit?
We had to go buy some. I'm not using the coffee here that's from 1996. Not that old.
Not even like a pod.
No, they have like an old coffee maker.
Oh, but dang. Well, I feel like in our Airbnbs, like the way we had it stocked was nice because we had those little packets of coffee, and those would get regularly used by guests, so it was always kind of fresh.
Yeah.
Like so, I feel like that was good.
Should be. Yeah. Just, I mean, I don't know. It's a good location. It's just like little stuff. But I mean, it was obviously built to be a short-term rental because they're on the other side of the lot where you access from the main road is an identical building to this. It's basically just mirrored around the other.
Got it. Yeah. So what happened was the city of Austin was like, we are going to institute some affordable housing laws and let you build basically a detached ADUs or houses on the same lot. And dudes were like, hell yeah. And then they turned them into Airbnbs. And now they're just janky ass lots with janky ass houses on it.
That is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Nice
and
job,
it's too crammed.
city.
It's too cramped. The alleyway's useless now. The streets completely cluttered with cars.
Yep.
And it's Texas, so public transportation's not used.
Yeah, but also
everybody uses cars.
Yeah, although since it's in Austin and things here are just generally expensive, but there's also like a tech scene. I mean, we're in kind of like a funny neighborhood with like all these weird houses. Like directly across from where I parked my car is like an abandoned mobile home that is like super dicey, and people definitely sell meth out of there. But you go down one house, the guy has a Cybertruck, so he's crushing it.
Dude, what the fuck? Oh my God. That sounded like Spokane until you said a guy with a Cybertruck. And I was like, okay, no, that's not Spokane.
Yeah. In Spokane instead, they'd have like a $120,000 pickup truck of some kind. You know, it's all jacked up and more expensive than a Cybertruck.
Yeah. Yeah. They go and they wheels on it.
Yeah. They go and they put some dents in it. So it looks like they do work when really they just drive back and forth between Trader Joe's with their wife.
And their big ass truck.
Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about. It's like,
I know exactly what you're talking about, dude. Oh man. Well, that's seems like at least a okay Airbnb that, you know, you're going to get okay service out of.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fine. Like I said, for 5 days. Exactly. That's the thing. You put up with it for 5 days. You're like, it's whatever. It's not that big of a deal. But if I had to live here full time and I had to be like walking down from the street with my groceries, that would be a problem.
You'd have to get a Cybertruck because it's bulletproof.
I would. Yeah, man. A Cybertruck is definitely not even going down this alley. I think it's huge. I should go I'll send you a picture of it because it's like way bigger and so much uglier than I thought it was going to be.
Damn it. I should have got on the waiting list. I should have.
It sucks so bad, dude.
I know it's like a terrible vehicle, but it's kind of like you almost want to own it though because it's so terrible.
I have no desire to own anything like
that. Our friend Ted, he's on the waiting list.
No way he'd buy it.
Hell yeah. No well, I don't know that he'd buy it, but he got on the waiting list.
Yeah, so did everybody else. They gave it $100 or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I kind of would like to drive one, but probably not own one.
Yeah,
like I'd like to run it into something.
Maybe for KeysCon this year in Palm Springs, we can find one. On Turo. So because we rented the G-Wagon for KeysCon past November, we can see if we can get a Cybertruck.
Hell yeah. I don't know. Can you fit? Is it a 2-person truck or is it 4 people? Could you fit more people? Because we may need to carpool with people.
Since it's a Tesla and all that stuff's dumb, I'm assuming it's a 1-person car and you just sit right in the middle.
It's in the
You're
middle.
not even on the left.
Yeah.
It's like you're flying like a small airplane. You're just like
I'm fully expecting you to have like a button that's like you got to pay for the software upgrade, but it actually lets you like mount a machine gun to the back or something.
Yeah. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. But anyways, cool. Well, that was an episode about nothing. Anything to wrap up, Dan?
No, that's not about nothing. So let's keep it about nothing.
Let's keep about nothing.
Yeah.
All right. So that was our episode 200, our Talk About Nothing episode. We promise everybody it will only go up from here. So
might go down sometimes.
What's that?
It might go down every once in a while though.
every once in a while. Just depends on what you're doing. So anyways, guys, we appreciate you guys listening, and we'll talk to you next week.
See y'all.